Hello friends and welcome back to Abridged by Alpal. I decided it was time for another bracket. I really do love doing brackets. I have an account on this website because of how often we do them at my work, and I had a fun idea for one. I mean, a pretty basic idea for one, but still, I'm excited to go through it. This bracket is going to be who would win in a fight, fantasy main character edition. Mostly main characters. I did want to round it out to a nice 32, so there are a few side characters in there, but they're like very important side characters, like main side characters. I don't think anyone's gonna be mad about the ones that I added in to move myself out of the way when we get to some of those bottom ones. Oh, this is actually crazy. Wait, can I move myself right here? Awesome. This matchup right here, Bilbo and Frodo. I think I need to hit the randomize button a few more times. Okay, I've shuffled that one more time. I don't think we have any obvious, like, we can't do this on the very first round ones, so
Wrong.
Let's get started. Our first matchup is Edward from Twilight, the Twilight Saga, versus Shallan from the Stormlight archives. Now, I don't think that he would be happy about this, but I think that Edward might win this fight. And by the way, this is a fight to the death. This is battle royale style. Whichever character is left standing is the one left standing. Like, Shallan's really good at the more subtle, the more deceptive things, but if it came to a fist fight, I don't think that she would win. I don't know what I should say here that isn't a spoiler. Let's just say Shallan, as she is at the end of Wind and Truth, she's gone through a lot of character growth, but she doesn't have some of the crutches that she used to, versus Edward, who I think pretty much, like, his whole shtick is that he stays the same forever. I think that Edward's gonna beat Shallan. Next up, we have Serene versus Danerys. See, I say Shallan as she is at the end of Wind and Truth because that is, I think, technically the middle of her story. I think it's only fair if I also do Daenerys in the middle of her story. I'm imagining, you know, she's got dragons at this point, but she isn't what she is at the end of the TV show and where the books ended. Versus Serene, who, I mean, she's only in one book, and she learns a lot about herself, but I don't think she grows any crazy skills. I mean, this one's also just got to be obvious. I had to include Serene and Riordan just because I love that book so much, but yeah, I don't think either one of them is winning in a fist fight, especially not against Daenerys if she's got her dragons. Ooh, okay, this is a good one. Okay, because they're both pretty powerful characters. I think Dalinar has the leg up on Aragon, though, because he's matured more, and Aragon, I think even at the end of the series, is still, like, pretty hot-headed and still gonna do questionable things just because, you know, he's young. But he does have a dragon, and he can wield magic, and his dragon can wield magic. But Dalinar has the Stormfather. I think this one's gotta go to Dalinar. Alrighty. Okay, this one was fun. No, Hoyd is not the main character of really any book, I guess. That's not entirely true. But he's in all of them, so, you know, had to be included. Versus Kaz from Six of Crows. I mean, once again, there's some characters that I included on this because I wanted to round out the list, and also, like, they're from some of my favorite fantasy series. But, Kaz, especially Kaz without Inej, isn't really anything special, and if this is like a fist fight and he hasn't already been able to, like, plan out, you know, contingencies and stuff like that, I think Hoyd just has, like, a lot going for him. There's a lot going on behind the curtain with Kaz, but there's undoubtedly more going on with Hoyd. So I think that's gotta go to Hoyd. No! Okay. I take it back about what I said about can't have matchups in the very first round. And Inej would never fight Alina. Literally never. And you know what? Alina has powers. So don't talk to me about the ending of that trilogy. It makes me so mad. In my mind, it didn't happen. Given that Inej wouldn't fight Alina, and also Alina, you know, has got some magic, has some razzle dazzle, it's gotta be Alina. Dang, that's actually a really unfortunate matchup. Okay, Violet Sorrengail and Percy Jackson. Some of these have last names because I just felt like it was so wrong to include them without last names. And both of these are characters like that. Let's see. So Percy has more innate power, right? And he's super funny and has a ton of riz. But he's also younger, like permanently 17? No, he's 18 in the newest series, isn't he? But even then, I think Violet at the beginning of book 1 is 20, so she has that on him. I feel like I don't want to say this because it's a spoiler, but also it happens in the first book, and it happens like pretty early in the first book. Like it's gotta be around halfway through, right? Maybe not, I don't know. But I feel like this is the point of Fourth Wing. Violet has 2 pretty sick dragons that would absolutely be willing to do a lot for her, but Percy also has a divine parent. Oh man. I feel like Violet is just more cutthroat. I mean, we see the way that she does her dueling, is that what it's called? Fighting at Basgath, and she's pretty willing to do whatever needs to be done in order to come out victorious. And I think that Percy's got too much of a heart in him, and he would not be willing to go as far as Violet is. Oh no, is this bracket just gonna become like which character is willing to commit the most war crimes? Jon Snow versus Frodo. I don't know if this is a hot take or not. I don't really like Jon Snow that much. He's definitely not my favorite character. But Frodo is just a hobbit, man. Like, he does a lot, but he does a lot by being able to fly under the radar. And if this is like a direct fight sort of thing that's going on, he's not really going to be able to do that. And Jon obviously has a lot more experience in combat than him, so I guess it's going to have to be Jon. Okay. Kaelin from The Bound and the Broken, and Ron Weasley from Harry Potter. This is one of those like side characters that I included in order to fill out the list. But I don't think anyone's going to argue with me that Ron Weasley doesn't deserve to be on here, because he is, I mean, he maybe not a great wizard, but you know, definitely comes from a long line of witches and wizards, and so he's got a lot of innate power to him. But Ron never really works that hard, whereas Kaelin, I feel like he's really working and really, really fighting for everything that he has and for the people that he loves. Although it's less immediately obvious to me what Kaelin can do with his powers than with Ron. Like, I know exactly what Ron can do and can't do. You know, honestly, it's not that hard. It's really not. It's gotta be Kaelin, right? We love you, Ron. Weasley is our king. Okay, next one. Ooh. Kaladin from the Stormlight Archives versus Tyrion from A Song of Ice and Fire. Obviously, up front, Kaladin brings more to the fight than Tyrion does. But Tyrion also has a way of like really getting out of every situation that he's been put in. But would that be enough to overcome Kaladin? Oh man. I think the real reason why I'm so stuck on this one is because Tyrion is undoubtedly one of my favorite characters from A Song of Ice and Fire, and while I love Kaladin a lot, I wouldn't consider him one of my favorites from the Stormlight Archive, and so I'm very biased in the way that I want Tyrion to go on, but I don't think that he would actually win in this fight. Like, he can do a lot, but he probably can't outrun Kaladin Stormblessed. It's just gotta be Kaladin. Okay. Full disclosure, I haven't read any of the Witcher books. I've watched the entire Netflix series, including season 4, which wasn't that good. And I did start playing Wild Hunt 3, but totally had a panic attack while I was playing it and never picked it back up again. But in addition to that, like, I've seen a lot of things about him online and like his story and things that happen in the games and stuff like that. So I feel like I have a decent read on him. Raoden I definitely know a lot better, but I also know that Raoden's just such a big softie, and that while he's probably, I mean, definitely capable of a lot more than Geralt is, I don't think he's going to be fully in that fight the way that Geralt would be. That makes me really sad and also a little bit nervous, because what if Geralt keeps going up against people and I don't really know like what he's capable of, and so I just kind of, I don't know. Anyway. Oh, this was a no-brainer. I mean, pretty early on in the series, Rand becomes surprisingly cutthroat. Like, I feel like you want him to stay the innocent little naive village boy that he is, but sooner than many realize, he becomes really quite savage. And Wayne, I mean, is always chaotic and has always, you know, been willing to do 110%, but it's never gonna be enough against the Dragon Reborn. It's just not. Although he would be a lot funnier doing it than Rand would. I just gotta be true to myself, it's gonna be Rand in this fight. Oh, look. Okay. Staying kind of on theme, we've got Wax. I realize I haven't been saying which series all of these characters are from, but Wax and Wayne from Mistborn Era 2, and Feyre from A Court of Thorns and Roses. This one's tougher for sure. I do think that Wax is a little more capable than Wayne is, and less of a wild card when it comes to like what he's gonna do and how well he's gonna plan things out. And Feyre definitely has stronger abilities, and she's gone through a lot to really toughen her up, but I still just don't really see her. Maybe, I guess it really depends who's being threatened for Feyre. Like if it's her alone, I doubt her ability more in this fight, but if there's something going on where Rhys is also threatened by this, or someone else who I won't name is being threatened by this, I can see her like really pulling out all the stops, but I don't think that's really the essence of this fight. So I'm gonna go with Wax. That kind of feels wrong, I'm not gonna lie. Like some French cowboy versus the High Lady of the Night Court. But I think that he's gonna do it. I think he's gonna pull out ahead. Oh, uh-oh. I just saw another matchup that should not have happened. But it's actually gonna be really interesting, so I'm excited about it. Next we've got Vin versus Dungeon Crawler Carl. Now there were a lot of books that I was seeing on these fantasy lists that were more sci-fi, and I wanted to leave sci-fi characters to their own sort of thing. I think Dungeon Crawler Carl becomes more sci-fi later in the series, but at the beginning I would say that it's more fantasy, which is why I included him. Stabby Cinderella. Oh, I mean, they're two characters who take themselves equally seriously, and that's fun. And if we kind of average out Carl's abilities over the series, since he does just like continue to grow and grow and grow in a way that Vin would never be able to, he's probably a little bit stronger than her. But she's slippery. She's really slippery. She'd be hard to pin down. Ugh, okay, let's think of moments in each of these books where they come up with a character that might be like the other. I do think that Carl does a slightly, Carl does a better job capturing characters that are a little more evasive than I think Vin does, just like overpowering, strong, tank-like characters. I think Vin usually has a decent amount of help when she's fighting those kind of characters, so if it's just them, I think I'm gonna go Dungeon Crawler Carl. Whoop whoop. Okay, so here's another matchup that probably was not supposed to happen. I'm gonna make my camera box a little bit smaller because I realized that it's kind of blocking that off, and it's not awful, but I don't like it aesthetically. Now that I'm almost done with the first round. So Harry Potter versus Hermione is a fight that never should happen, kind of like Inej versus Alina. I mean, I think Harry says it himself, that Hermione would outdo him in a fight. I think he acknowledges the fact that like she puts in way more of the work than he does. They're probably pretty matched in terms of magical ability, but then she's way surpassing him in know-how. It's gonna be Hermione for me. I'm gonna move this over here for these next few matchups. Next we have Bella from Twilight versus Clary. This one's a no-brainer. Clary from the Mortal Instruments, the Shadow Hunters. I mean, Bella's not, no, and not even Bella as she is at the end of the series is going to be able to overpower Clary. Clary's winning that fight every day of the year. Okay, and our last one for round one, Aelin versus Bilbo. I love Bilbo. I do. He doesn't stand a chance against Aelin. I mean, and I am super biased in this one because Aelin is one of my favorite characters of all time. I love her so much. Yeah. He doesn't stand a chance. Although I do suppose that he defeats Smaug and his main power is fire, as is Aelin's, but no, Aelin's not gonna let herself be talked out of things or outwitted. It's gotta be Aelin for sure. Back up to the start of the page. We got Edward versus Daenerys. Did I spell her name right? It's close enough. I also think that this one's pretty easy because Edward, being a vampire, one of his only weaknesses is fire, and Daenerys has dragons. Not to mention the fact that Daenerys is be a little bit more bloodthirsty, which is literally not true, but figuratively, I think so. For the dragons alone, Daenerys is gonna win this fight. Oh no. Yeah, this is another fight that should never happen. Dalinar versus Hoyd. The thing about Hoyd is that he's still such a black box in the Cosmere that I know he's capable of incredible things, but I don't know the limit of that, or even like the flavor of those incredible things. Whereas Dalinar, I'm a lot more familiar with, and I know his skill set a lot more intimately. Here's what I'm gonna say about these. Dalinar is always trying to see the bigger picture, but is never quite given enough to see the whole thing. Hoid knows what's at stake pretty much at all times. Like, we know that he is, I mean, omnipresent, not omniscient. Hoid knows what's up. And so for that, I'm gonna go with Hoid. Okay, we have Alina Starkov versus Violet Sorrengail. Oh, this one's hard. In terms of raw ability, I do think that Alina has the edge on Violet. Also, okay, you know what? I'm gonna take a little tangent really quick. Everyone's like, wow, lightning wielder. That's one of the most powerful signets of all time. That's crazy, blah, blah, blah. I was actually really underwhelmed when I heard lightning. Like, lightning just doesn't seem that powerful to me. I know that it's literally flashy and it's like scary and like it seems like it's gonna be really overwhelming, but it just seems like it's a single use power. Whereas there's a lot of other powers that like are a lot more nuanced and that you can do a lot more with. So I've never really been like, oh my gosh, she's a lightning wielder. It's never really hit me like that. Whereas Alina, I think we see Alina use her power in many different ways, and I think that's so cool. Like, how can you use this one specific ability you've got in as many ways as possible? She really explores that more than Violet does. That being said, so Alina has the edge for raw power. I think that Violet's got a stronger ruthless streak in her, and so once again I can see her really committing and doing the most in order to see herself the winner of this fight. I don't know that it's gonna be enough though, especially where Violet is at in her story right now. She's not very under control, and so yeah, she's cutthroat, but I think that if Alina really wanted to, if it was a matter of life and death, she's taking down Violet. Jon Snow versus Kaelin, this is a no-brainer. Not only do I like Kaelin 1,000 times more than Jon Snow, he has magic. Jon doesn't, and Jon's kind of pretentious and annoying, despite the fact that he's an orphan. Not an orphan. I'm not gonna say that word. Baseborn. Despite being baseborn, Jon's just like, he's got too much honor to him. Too much honor to the point of it being a fatal flaw. Kaelin's winning this for sure. I do think that this is a good matchup to end my dilemma with Geralt. I do think that Kaladin is going to be victorious in this situation. Geralt knows a lot of ways to someone, but I just don't think it's gonna be enough versus a depressed storm boy who's really good with the spear. Yeah, I can just see Geralt getting really overwhelmed in that fight. Thank you, Kaladin. Next we have Rand versus Wax. I think this one's also obvious. As capable as Wax is, he is not the Dragon Reborn. Dungeon Crawler Carl versus Hermione. See, this is why I do things like this, because who else is going to imagine pitting Dungeon Crawler Carl against Hermione Granger? Only my sick brain. Oh boy. Carl just has such a wide arsenal at his disposal. I think in terms of just sheer options, Hermione, I don't think would be able to think that fast if he was really throwing everything he's got at her from every which angle. Like with Kaladin and Geralt, like Hermione's just gonna, like, she's fully capable, but she's going to get overwhelmed in this. I feel like this is the one I'm gonna get the most heat for. Carl beating Hermione, but you know, I gotta stand by it. Clary versus Aelin. I do love Clary. She's got a lot going for her, but she's not Aelin. And I don't think she's ever like feared for her life and the lives of those dependent on her the way that Aelin has. And so Aelin's just gonna have like that extra grittiness to her. Okay. Let's see, we've got 8 left. Ooh, okay. Daenerys versus Hoid. I mean, we know that Hoid already has experience with dragons. I don't know if it's necessarily experience that is going to help him overcome dragons, but I feel pretty confident in saying that Daenerys probably has no experience going against someone like Hoid. We're getting to the point in this bracket where I can no longer rely on my head, and instead I have to rely on my heart. And my heart just says that Hoid would win this. Like, I've gotten to the point where I have to start going off of vibes instead of logic, because I think they're all pretty equally matched at this point. My heart says Hoid. Hoid is beating Daenerys. Okay, next we've got Alina versus Kaelin. You know, I'm gonna look something up really quick. How long does does Shadow and Bone? Okay, see, so Shadow and Bone takes place over like a year or less, whereas I think where we are in The Bound and the Broken already, Kaelin's had a lot more time than that to get used to his powers and like learn things and understand himself better. And also, my heart is just saying Kaelin. I mean, he's got a dragon, he's got powers, he's got more years on Alina. I think it's gonna be Kaelin. All right. Oh, this is a good matchup. Kaladin Stormblast versus Rand al'Thor. Obviously, Rand has more power at his fingertips. And honestly, like, this might not be like a good prevails over evil sort of situation with like Rand going crazy and Kaladin kind of always trying to stay on the right path, you know, with the right intentions. I think in this case, Rand's craziness is going to be more of a benefit than a drawback to him. I think Rand's beating Kaladin. Yeah, that feels right. I mean, it feels wrong. I love both those characters, but makes sense to me. Ooh. When I think about these characters separately, Aelin seems so more formidable to me. But if I put Aelin into the context of Dungeon Crawler Carl, she's probably more of a one-dimensional character some showrunner has on the floors for a different story. And I believe we've seen in Dungeon Crawler Carl that usually that's not enough to keep a character alive. As much trouble Carl could get in for interfering with something like that, I think that if he needed to, he would just do it anyway and deal with the consequences later. Ugh, but I love Aelin so much. Carl might be a worthy foe to fall to, though. Like, what's that one plotline in Dungeon Crawler Carl where there's like the elves? Is her name Signet? I mean, she would be pretty powerful. Signet is, if I'm remembering her name correctly, she is pretty powerful, and Mordecai warns Carl, but that's also on an earlier floor. Is the plot armor enough? You know, I just really can't see Carl losing this fight. I can't. I can see Aelin losing it, but Carl's scrappy. He's gonna find a way to overcome any trial that is thrown at him. Oh, that actually really surprises me. Aelin falling to Dungeon Crawler Carl is, to me, kind of a crazy turn of events. I really thought she was a contender to go all the way. Okay, next we have Hoid versus Kaelin. Once again, my heart is saying Hoid. Kaelin does a really good job at growing and learning and adapting in order to overcome what's thrown at him, but I just don't think it's gonna be enough to handle everything that Hoid's gonna be throwing at him. I think it's gonna be that. Okay, now this one's a crazy matchup because like the most serious character of serious fantasy, and admittedly also a very serious character, but of just like absurdist horror fantasy. Oh man, this is hard. Carl's just always going to have some trick up his sleeve. Man, this is just like really giving me the itch to reread The Wheel of Time, but it's been less than a year since I finished it. Here's another part of this problem. I can't actually see Carl losing a fight, but I can see Rand. And if you've read both of these series, you know why. Do I really think some dude from, where's he from, Portland? I think it's somewhere on the West Coast. Is he going to be able to defeat the Dragon Reborn? I mean, with all the upgrades and abilities he's got, but would Rand show up as a character that Mordecai's like, you stay away from him or you're going to be effed? Probably. But even if they did go head to head after Mordecai's warning, Carl's gonna find a way. He's gonna find a way. Scrappiest dude I've ever seen in a book. This is an insane finale. Hoid versus Dungeon Crawler Carl. I mean, we've got like the scrappiest dude ever versus the guy who seemingly can never die. An immovable force encounters an unstoppable object. It's the other way, isn't it? An immovable object meets an unstoppable force. Yep, that makes way more sense. And in my mind, Carl is the immovable object and Hoid is the unstoppable force, because Hoid is on a mission. He knows what's going on. He's moving left and right, whereas Carl always seems to be on the defensive, but he's really good at it. You know what? This is how we're going to do this. Heads is Hoid, tails is Carl. Hey Siri, flip a coin. Tails. Carl. Is that believable to me? Yeah, I think so. That's why I flip coins most of the time, is so that I'm forced to confront an outcome and then I can actually see how I feel about it. And this time I think that the coin speaks truth. I think that Carl's gonna find some way to win this fight. I couldn't tell you how, but I have faith in him. I have faith that he would overcome. All right. Well, there you have it. I guess Dungeon Crawler Carl, the main character of all fantasy main characters, coming out ahead. I have to say, I'm proud of him. I'm not entirely surprised, but at the same time, I am. I am entirely surprised by that. I felt like there were some really good, really strong contenders in that list, but I think Carl has the upper hand of always being the underdog. But and I do think that he just finds a way, kind of like a cockroach, you know. He's gonna be pretty hard to kill. He's like the Swiss Army knife of all main characters. So thank you guys so much for watching my silly little bracket, and I will see you guys next week. Bye. Start the tournament. No, why would you do that? Okay, once again, moving myself over. Not that it really matters once you open these up. Oh, you know what? In fact, when I open it up, I'm kind of in the way, aren't I? Okay. Yeah, it was probably a mistake. I probably should not have moved myself over for the first matchups, but it is what it is. I don't know if you're going to be able to see my nails. I had my friend and my sister paint my nails, and they did a great job. I'm very proud of them. And they're so fun. They're bringing me a lot of joy right now. I'm really just trying to avoid this matchup. Oh my gosh, and my video is super small in the corner. You're not even going to be able to see them. I'll do another one. Here's what I was trying to show while I was avoiding making decisions. Got my nails painted. I gave them an inspiration and they looked it up on, I don't know why Pinky's doing all that. They looked it up on Pinterest and then found this idea. The inspiration was Ireland and what they got was sheep's. So this was my sister's hand, and then this was my friend's hand. And it's gonna be pretty hard to see the details on these, but they've got, both of them have the sheepies on these. These two. And then it was kind of a free-for-all for the rest of them. So those are my beautiful, lovely nails that are bringing me a lot of joy, even though they've got approximately 6 bajillion layers of nail polish on each of them. It just makes my nails really strong.